So, remember that first day, guys? Yeah, all of you, including the ones who wandered in a couple of minutes late, like you were still in school or something, and it was a big lecture hall, so who was going to notice? So here's one of the ways I knew how much fun it was going to be, and how good you were going to be. In the days after I did that startling thing, making each of you latecomers identify yourselves aloud in front of your new classmates, and me announcing from the podium one after another exactly how many minutes late you were, and how this wasn't actually school anymore, it was the new work adventure you'd chosen, and how you weren't ever going to hurry in late to your reporting interviews or your editor, so you might as well start practicing that right now. Anyway, afterward, a lot of you sent me notes or had the moxie to come find me later in person to say, got it, on it. And you did. You were, you are, and you will be. So there are three things I want to remind you about. I was going to say tell you, but that would be dumb, since you know this already, because did I mention that you're on it? Okay, I did. So here's the first. Well, as Zainab just said so eloquently, and then David elaborated on, there is a theme here, people, right? You're scared. Well, for Pete's sake, of course you're scared. When I did what you're doing 9 zillion years ago, not in this courtyard, because in those days Berkeley journalism students went to horrible Evans Hall over there, where no outdoor place was pretty enough to invite the families into. It was a completely different era in journalism, duh. And still, we were all scared to death. The wages were lousy. The job security was lousy. Some of us were going to turn out to love conventional journalism and thrive in it and figure out how to make great, full, grown-up lives out of this erratic line of work. And some of us, it's important for you to hear this, you too, we're going to find other equally satisfying things to do. And they were going to make use of all they'd worked so hard to learn, the storytelling, the discipline, the ability to focus their own curiosity so productively, the way they'd learned to ingest the most complicated things and make them understandable. And they were going to carry this into all kinds of interesting work, which would also bring them great, full, grown-up lives. But we didn't know that then, on our graduation day. So we all sat there in front of people who loved us, fretting that whatever we were going to do that coming summer would be the last constructive journalism-ish work we ever pulled off. In this way, my point is, we were pretty much exactly like you. Except, oh Lord, you guys are so much smarter. And you know how to do so many more things than we did. This is the second thing I want to remind you about. Some of you know I was on a National Geographic assignment last week, and it would have cracked you up to watch me at work because the editors had decided to try doing this story in daily dispatches on Instagram. A words and pictures experiment, they said. So the photographer was older than you, but a lot younger than me. And you would have had such a comical time watching me squinting at the iPhone as he's explaining, 270 words per picture, tiny story, no paragraphing, no italics, so you post it this way, here's how you repost. Oh, by the way, here's how you tell a story in Snapchat. I spent so much time, as I was sweating it out to get this right, thinking about all of you, and how you would have advised me even more usefully, and how many different things you've learned how to master and to push creatively in order to tell stories in ways that had never occurred to anybody a decade ago. A few weeks back, I sent a notice out to a few of your predecessors, students who graduated 5, 7, 10 years back, and who I knew to be like you guys, multi-talented, full of energy, uncertain as they were leaving us about exactly what they were going to find out there. I said, send me words of inspiration for your younger brothers and sisters. And they did. They wrote back right away because they were eager to talk to you. Here's Carrie, who landed in documentary and serious broadcast news. Journalism isn't for the faint of heart. It's for the most passionate people in the room who see the world in unique ways and are compelled to share what they see with others. Once you accept the ups and downs as part of this gig, you can get through them. Here's Juliana, who landed in Brazil where her family roots were and has kicked off a career writing in English from there. News, features, recently a very well-received book. Listen hard, guys. The flip side of tremendous turmoil is tremendous opportunity. This sounds trite, but it's more true than ever. The public wants good content and is engaging with an unprecedented variety of material from a variety of sources. It's a messy world out there, but it's easier to elbow your way into the fray, I think, if you've got nothing but good ideas and some savvy. And here's Amy, who landed in radio. What an exciting time this is for storytelling, at least in my field. It's hard to say how the explosion of podcasting will settle and how much of an audience any of us will reach when the listeners can find anything they want on demand, but there is so much rich, great work going on and a clear appetite for, and just as importantly, funding for meaningful work. It is a thrilling job and more vital than ever. Hear that? Real people, I promise. Not invented, not composites. You know I wouldn't do that to you. You can listen to Amy on Marketplace if you want. She came into our program thinking she was going to make documentaries, okay? So that was the second thing. You are going to land someplace interesting and probably inhabited by this fantastic gang of comrades you've joined with a membership that spans the globe. This new family around you, you're going to be working alongside them, working for them, hitting them up for advice, meeting them for coffee and beer in weird places, probably for the rest of your life. And this leads me to the third thing I want to remind you about, the crest. Remember the crest? Families, this is a crest of journalism I invented a while back, and that opening day of school I perplexed these guys by deconstructing it on a giant whiteboard. Fiat lux. That's the motto of the University of California, but I meant it especially for them. Loosely translated, shed light. That's what reporters do on their best days, and you guys have been doing it since those nonstop opening weeks. Look at this lineup of things you helped readers understand. Richmond versus Chevron, Berkeley versus Big Sugar, protesting teachers, chanters, window smashers, freeway blockers, medical marijuana, measles, asthma, diabetes, hip-hop therapy, healthcare for the undocumented, honey regulation, minimum wage, body cameras, tax scammers, people who live inside shipping containers, cooking stoves for Darfur, squirrels, goats, elephants, lemurs, the whole Oakland Zoo, a giant motorized fire-breathing snail. You guys can ask about that later. You made interactive maps, campaign money data viz, baseball money data viz, a graphic with honeybees, a graphic with a Brussels sprout. You came up with a graphic data analysis that showed people how much each Oakland mayoral candidate paid in campaign expenses per vote. Remember that? Maybe not. It's been a while. You made websites and movies and big television stories and radio documentaries and a whole new kind of news app. You brought us the voices of midwives in Israel, gay HIV positive men in China, threatened journalists in Mexico, grieving mothers in Buenos Aires, French citizens grappling with ISIS. You came up with a brilliant comic spoof on the public radio hit Serial with a central guy at your J school joke that's so sly that you all will have to explain it to your families later because I can't. 3 of you from completely different religious and ethnic backgrounds had the audacious idea of taking on this difficult modern question of privilege by means of a multimedia package online. You made corrections. Next line on the crest. Scribem veritas. Probably not very good Latin, but very good sentiment. Write the truth. In other words, get it right. Every one of you got something wrong during the last 2 years. Yeah? Now, David talked about this also, but such an important part for this line of work, as well as probably every line of work, how to fix mistakes humbly and install the memory of them in your brain so that each time they happen, you pay even more attention to how much it matters that you check and double check and worry about getting it right. This is going to keep happening to you all your life, no matter the particular job you settle into. Making mistakes and correcting them in public and remembering what that felt like. This is what helps the best of us continue to be just desperate about working to get it right. And the final part of the crest, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the most important part, the NSP part. Spanish-speaking family and friends out there, sorry to be a little crude, but these guys know that NSP stands for No seas pendejo. So the most polite translation of that is don't be a jerk. That means make thoughtfulness and fairness and respect for yourself, for your friends and colleagues, and for everybody whose lives you cross as a journalist, your highest priorities. This is not only because you're going to spend more hours being a human being than you will doing the work. It's also because practicing the doctrine of NSP makes you a journalist who can really listen to people, who can hear what they're really trying to say, not what a preconceived idea or a prejudiced editor told you to get them to say. I know things about you all in NSP. I know Alyssa helps edit Shayna and that Shayna makes amazing salads in return. I know Sanosi makes Shayna speak Arabic to him even though he's fluent and she's not quite. I know Nigel sings out praises of his colleague and sometimes just sings out because he's Nigel. I know what Zainab said to Sasha that made her stand up a little taller as a reporter, and I know Hannah gave Candice exactly the "you can do it" she needed when she was learning how to film. I know you all helped each other through the extraordinary sorrow of losing Grabs. And then at the other end of the overwhelming human emotion spectrum, you celebrated your class's J-babies. Romans, Dinas, and Linas, who had the interesting idea of arriving around the same time as the master's project deadline. I watched on Facebook as you cheer each other on through these brutal final closing weeks, and one by one on video I've watched you dancing in the office with Michelle and Joanne the day you hand those projects in. And when you pulled off that fabulous surprise farewell party for me, which made me burst into tears in the library, one of the things that made it more joyous than sad was that I was going back out full-time into a world in which you will be my colleagues, my reporting pals, my partner photographers and documentarians and radio geniuses and multimedia whizzes, probably my bosses before too long. CG, this lead is lame. CG, you do realize you spelled that guy's name wrong? CG, did you really just show up late to this editorial meeting? Have a wonderful time out there, guys, and welcome to my world. I can hardly wait.